The private ward on the 17th floor of Seoul Metropolitan Memorial Hospital had been silent for 91 days. No flowers. No cards. No visitors. The machines beeped their mechanical lullaby. The ventilator hissed. The monitors traced green mountains across black screens, proof that Han Juno-koye, the man newspapers called the Silent Sovereign, still clung to life. But no one came to witness it. The nurses whispered about him during shift changes. About the billionaire whose empire spanned Seoul to Lagos. About the man whose face had graced magazine covers, whose name made politicians sweat and competitors disappear. Now he lay motionless, tubes snaking into his arms. His dark skin, a beautiful fusion of his Nigerian father and Korean mother, had grown ashen. The tattoo on his neck, an intricate design of a Korean dragon intertwined with Adinkra symbols, seemed to pulse with the rhythm of the heart monitor. But it was just a trick of the fluorescent light. No one came. His board members sent lawyers to inquire about power of attorney. His enemies sent spies disguised as orderlies. His business partners sent nothing at all. Not a single soul came simply because they loved him. Until the 91st day. The boy appeared at 3:07 in the afternoon. He was small, 8 years old, though his eyes carried the weight of someone much older. His skin was a warm brown, kissed by both African sun and Korean winter. His hair was a crown of tight curls, and his school uniform, navy blue with the crest of Seoul International Academy, was slightly too big. He walked past the nurse's station without a word. No one stopped him. Later, they would swear they never saw him. The security footage would show a flicker, a shadow, a boy who seemed to exist between frames. He pushed open the door to room 1701. The machines continued their rhythm. The boy stood at the foot of the bed, studying the unconscious man with an intensity that didn't belong to a child. "You look like my mother's photograph," he said quietly. His Korean was perfect, but there was a lilt to it, a melody borrowed from another language, another place. He walked closer. His small hand reached out and touched the cold fingers, lying motionless on the white sheets. "She cries when she thinks we're sleeping," the boy continued. "She says your name, Han Jun, but she says it like it hurts." The heart monitor skipped. Just once. The boy didn't flinch. "My name is Kwon Adeyemi," he said. "I'm 8 years old. I have 2 sisters, twins. They're 5. We live above a bakery in Itaewon. My mother makes the best chin-chin in Seoul." He paused, tilting his head. "I looked you up on the computer at school. You're very rich. You're very scary. People write bad things about you." Another skip in the monitor. "But my mother kept your photograph in her jewelry box. The one she thinks we don't know about." Kwon leaned closer, his breath fogging slightly in the overcooled air. "I came to tell you something." The machines held their breath. "If you die," the boy whispered, "my mother will blame herself forever. I don't know why, but I know it's true." He reached into his backpack and pulled out a small, crumpled drawing. 3 stick figures, a tall woman and 2 smaller girls, stood in front of a building with a crooked chimney. Above them, a yellow sun smiled. But in the corner, separate from the others, stood a 4th figure. A man, drawn entirely in black crayon. "My sister Amara drew this. She doesn't know who you are, but she draws you anyway. Every time." Kwon placed the drawing on the bedside table. "I don't know if you're a good person. I don't know if you hurt my mother. But I know she's tired. I know she's scared. And I know." His voice cracked, just slightly. "I know children aren't supposed to visit strange men in hospitals. But no one else was coming. And someone should come. Everyone deserves someone." He stepped back. "Please wake up. Please don't make my mother cry anymore." The boy walked to the door, his footsteps silent on the linoleum. He paused at the threshold. "My mother says that ancestors watch over us, that they send signs when we need them most." He looked back at the motionless figure. "Maybe I'm your sign." The door closed behind him. The machines resumed their rhythm. And deep in the darkness of his coma, Han Juno-koye's finger twitched. 3 years earlier, the wedding of the decade had become the scandal of the century. Seoul's elite had gathered in the grand ballroom of the Shilla Hotel, champagne flutes raised, cameras ready. The merger of the Han Empire with the Adeyemi International Holdings would reshape markets across 2 continents. But the bride never appeared. Han Jun Okoye stood at the altar for 47 minutes. His face betrayed nothing. The Korean dragon on his neck seemed to coil tighter with each passing second. The Adinkra symbol for resilience, inked across his collarbone beneath his pristine white shirt, burned like a brand. Guests whispered. Photographers documented. And somewhere in the city, Nia Adeyemi was already gone. She had left a note. 3 sentences that would haunt him for years. I cannot marry into your world. I cannot raise children in your shadow. Do not look for me. He looked for her anyway. For 6 months, his network, both legitimate and otherwise, scoured 3 continents. Private investigators, hackers, men who specialized in finding people who didn't want to be found. Nothing. Nia Adeyemi had vanished like smoke. What Han Jun didn't know, what no one knew, was that Nia hadn't just fled their wedding. She had fled with a secret, one that would change everything. Present day. Han Jun Okoye opened his eyes on the 93rd day. The first thing he saw was the drawing. Crumpled. Childish. A family rendered in crayon. And a man in black, standing alone in the corner. His throat was raw from the breathing tube they'd removed hours before. His body felt foreign, weighted with sand. But his mind was already calculating. Who brought this? The nurse who entered dropped her chart. Mr. Han, oh my God, you're awake. Out. His voice was gravel and glass. Sir, I need to. Out. She fled. Han Jun forced himself upright. The movement sent lightning through his atrophied muscles, but he had survived worse. The tattoos covering his arms, Korean calligraphy intertwined with Nigerian tribal patterns, rippled as he reached for the drawing. He studied it. A woman, 2 small girls. And a boy? No. The boy wasn't in the picture. But the boy had brought the picture. Han Jun pressed the call button. A different nurse appeared. Older, steadier. I want the security footage from the past 90 days. Every visitor. Every delivery. Every person who entered this room. Sir, there were no visitors. Then explain this. He held up the drawing. The nurse paled. I don't know what that is, sir. I've never seen it before. Han Jun's eyes, dark and depthless, pinned her in place. Find out. Later that evening, the footage showed nothing. A flicker, a shadow, the door opening and closing as if pushed by wind. But the drawing was real. The crayon had smudged on his fingers when he touched it. And the name, signed in the corner in careful, childish handwriting, was unmistakable. Amara, age 5. Han Jun stared at that name until the letters blurred. Amara. It meant Grace in Igbo. His mother's name had been Grace. 2 weeks later, the business world had written him off. Stock prices had plummeted. Vultures had circled. His enemies had already begun dividing the corpse of his empire. They had underestimated him. Within 72 hours of his awakening, Han Jun had reasserted control with surgical precision. 3 board members resigned under mysterious circumstances. 2 rival companies discovered sudden tax irregularities. A journalist who had written his obituary prematurely received a very personal phone call that left him in tears. The silent sovereign was back. But his attention wasn't on business. It was on a drawing, on a name, on a ghost from his past who had apparently been in Seoul all along. His head of security, Park Min-jun, stood at rigid attention in the hospital room that Han Jun had converted into a temporary office. We've located her, sir. Han Jun didn't look up from his laptop. The tattoo on his wrist, a geometric pattern that merged Korean and African symbolism, flexed as his fingers paused on the keys. Where? Itaewon. She owns a small bakery. Mama Nia's. It's popular with the locals. How long? She's been in Seoul for approximately 2 years, sir. Before that, our records show. I know what the records show. Nothing. Min-jun swallowed. Yes, sir. The children. 1 boy, approximately 8 years old. Twin girls, approximately 5 years old. Han Jun's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Only someone who had worked for him for 15 years would have noticed. The boy, Kwon Adeyemi, enrolled at Seoul International Academy on a scholarship. Exceptional student. Some disciplinary issues, fighting, mostly. Protecting his sisters. And the father? No father listed on any documentation, sir. The birth certificates from Nigeria are incomplete. Hanjun finally looked up. His eyes were empty. Terrifyingly empty. Leave. Minjun left. That night, Hanjun discharged himself against medical advice. His car, a black Maybach with tinted windows, rolled through the streets of Itaewon at 3 in the morning. The neighborhood was quiet, its famous neon signs dimmed, its international crowd sleeping off the evening's indulgences. The bakery was on a corner. It was small, painted yellow, with a hand-lettered sign that read Mama Nia's in both English and Korean. A cartoon child with curly hair smiled beneath the letters. Hanjun didn't exit the vehicle. He sat in the darkness, watching the second-floor windows. A light turned on. A silhouette passed behind a thin curtain. A woman, tall and slender, her movement carrying the particular exhaustion of a mother who never truly sleeps. Nia. His hand found the tattoo on his neck. Pressed against it. You ran from me. The light turned off. You hid from me. The street was silent. You had my children. Hanjun's hand trembled. For the first time in years, he felt something crack inside the fortress of his control. He didn't feel anger. He felt something far more dangerous. Hope. To everyone listening to this story right now, this is just the beginning. Before we continue, if this story has captured your attention, if you felt that moment when Hanjun saw the drawing, when he realized his entire world had shifted, please like, share, and subscribe. Now let's continue. 1 week later, Nia Adeyemi woke at 4:30 every morning. She had done so for 5 years, since the twins were born, since she had built this life from nothing, since she had learned that survival required sacrifice. The bakery didn't open until 7, but preparation began in darkness. She moved through her small kitchen with practiced grace. Flour dust caught the early light. The oven hummed its familiar warmth. The scent of chin-chin, crispy, sweet, golden, filled the air. Her mother's recipe. Her grandmother's before that. Some inheritances couldn't be stolen. Upstairs, she could hear movement. Kwon, preparing for school. The twins, slowly waking, their voices carrying the music of dreams not yet forgotten. Nia paused at the window. Seoul stretched before her, gray and gold, foreign and familiar. She had never planned to come here. Had never planned to build a life in the city where he ruled like a silent god. But the world was smaller than it seemed, and sometimes, hiding in plain sight was the safest place of all. Mommy? She turned. Amara stood in the doorway, small and sleep-rumpled, her curls escaping the silk bonnet Nia tied every night. Why are you awake, my love? Bad dream. Nia opened her arms. Amara ran into them. Tell me, Nia whispered into her daughter's hair. There was a man. A big man. He was scary, but not scary. He was just sad. So sad. And he was looking for something, but he couldn't find it. Nia's arms tightened. And then I woke up. It was just a dream, Omomi, just a dream. But as Nia held her daughter, her eyes found the window again. And for a moment, just a moment, she could have sworn she saw a black car parked across the street. When she looked again, it was gone. Hanjun had purchased the building across from the bakery. It was unnecessary, excessive. The act of a man whose rationality had surrendered to something darker. But he didn't care. From the 4th-floor window, he could see everything. He watched Nia open the bakery at 7. He watched the customers arrive, locals who greeted her by name, expats hungry for home. He watched the children leave for school. Kwon, serious and protective, holding each twin by the hand. Amara, who skipped. Saad, her twin, who walked with careful precision. He watched for 7 days. On the 8th day, he entered the bakery. The bell above the door chimed. Nia looked up from the register, customer service smile already forming. The smile died. He stood in her doorway like judgment itself. Black suit, perfectly tailored. Silver watch catching the light. The tattoo on his neck visible above his collar. A dragon, a symbol, a warning. But it was his eyes that stopped her breath. Those eyes hadn't changed. Dark. Depthless. Seeing everything. Seeing her. Nia. Her name in his voice. After all these years. "We're not open yet," she heard herself say. "Come back at 7. It was 6:47 a.m. "I'll wait." He didn't ask permission. He walked to a corner table and sat, his back to the wall, his gaze never leaving her face. The remaining 13 minutes were the longest of her life. When the clock struck 7, other customers entered. Han Jun didn't move. He ordered nothing. He simply watched. Nia served pastries with shaking hands, made change without counting, smiled without meaning it. At 7:23, the morning rush ended. At 7:24, she locked the door. At 7:25, she turned to face him. "Get out." "No. This is my business. My property. I can call the police." "You could." He didn't move. "But you won't." Nia's hands curled into fists. "What do you want, Han Jun? I want to know why you ran." "I left a note." "You left lies." "I left the truth. Your world, our world, was never meant for me. You decided that for both of us. I decided for myself. And the children?" Nia went still. Absolutely, perfectly still. "What children?" Han Jun stood. He crossed the bakery in 3 strides. He stopped inches from her, close enough to see the pulse jumping in her throat, the way her breath had shortened, the way her eyes refused to meet his. "Kwan," he said softly. 8 years old. Exceptional student. Protects his sisters. Visited me in the hospital." Nia's face drained of color. "Amara. 5 years old. Draws pictures of a man in black." "How do you?" "Saad. 5 years old. Walks with her mother's grace. Has her father's eyes." Nia stepped back. Hit the counter. "Trapped." "Has her father's eyes," Han Jun repeated. "Dark. Depthless. The same eyes that are looking at you right now. You need to leave." "When were you going to tell me?" "Tell you what?" "That I have children." The words hung in the air between them. 3 years of silence. 3 children. 3 lives he had never known existed. "They're not." "Don't." His voice dropped to something dangerous. "Don't lie to me again, Nia. Not about this. Not about them." Her eyes finally met his. And he saw it. The truth she had carried alone for 8 years. Hours later, the bakery was closed. The sign in the window read, "Family Emergency." Nia sat across from Han Jun at the small table, a cup of cold tea between them. She hadn't touched it. Neither had he. "I was already pregnant when I left." "I know. You know?" "I suspected. The timeline. The note. The way you disappeared so completely." He paused. "I had Min Jun run blood tests. From the hospital. From items the children touched at school." "You had no right." "I had every right. They're mine." The possessiveness in his voice was absolute. Nia flinched. "They're not possessions. They're children. My children. Our children. Yours." She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You don't know their favorite foods. You don't know their fears. You don't know that Kwan still wets the bed when he's stressed, that Amara is afraid of thunder, that Saad hasn't spoken a full sentence since she was 3. Han Jun went still. "Saad doesn't speak?" "She speaks. Just not often. Not to strangers. Not about important things." Nia's voice cracked. "She saves her words. Like they're precious. Like they might run out. Like me." Nia looked at him. Really looked. And for a moment, the anger faded, and all that remained was the memory of who they had been. Before. Later that evening, the children were at a neighbor's house. Han Jun hadn't left. They sat in Nia's small living room. Mismatched furniture, children's artwork on the walls, the warm chaos of a life he had never known. "Why did you really leave?" Nia pulled her knees to her chest. "You know why." "I know what you wrote. I don't know the truth." Silence stretched between them. Your mother came to see me the day before the wedding. Han Jun's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes shifted. Dangerous. What did she say? She told me what you really were. Who you really were. The business empire was a front, she said. Beneath it was something darker. Something that had consumed your father. Something that would consume you. My mother. She showed me photographs, documents, names of people who had disappeared. Han Jun said nothing. She said if I married you, if I brought children into your world, they would never be safe, never be free. They would be leverage, weapons, targets. So you ran. I ran before I could be trapped. And you never thought to ask me? Nia's voice rose. Ask you? Ask the man whose own mother warned me he was dangerous? Ask the man who controlled an empire through fear. My mother, Han Jun said slowly, died 6 months after you left. Nia's anger faltered. What? Suicide. At least, that's what the report said. Han Jun, it wasn't suicide. His voice was ice. She was killed by the same people she claimed I worked with, the same people she was actually working for. The room tilted. My mother sold information to my rivals. For years. When I discovered it, she tried to protect herself by destroying everything I loved, by driving away the only person who might have given me a reason to leave that world. He looked at Nia. You. 3 days later. Han Jun hadn't slept. The revelation about his mother, about Nia, about everything, churned through his mind like broken glass. He had believed, for years, that Nia had betrayed him, had abandoned him, had seen the truth of who he was and fled. Instead, she had been manipulated, deceived, and he had been too consumed by his own pain to question it. Now he sat in his office, a glass tower overlooking Gangnam, and stared at the surveillance photographs spread across his desk. His children. 3 small faces that carried pieces of him he had thought were gone forever. Kwon, with his protective intensity. Amara, with her artistic soul. Saad, with her silent depths. Mine. The word was a heartbeat. Mine. But they didn't know him. To them, he was a stranger. A threat. A man in black who stood alone in crayon drawings. That same evening, Min-jun entered without knocking. Sir, we have a problem. Han Jun didn't look up. Elaborate. Victor Okonkwo. He's in Seoul. Now Han Jun looked up. Victor Okonkwo. Nigerian. Wealthy. Well connected to the criminal underworld that Han Jun had spent years distancing himself from. And, until 3 years ago, one of the men who had competed for Nia's hand. Why? Unknown. But he's been seen in Itaewon, near the bakery. Han Jun's hand found the tattoo on his neck. The dragon coiled. The Adinkra symbol burned. Double the security on Nia and the children. Discreetly. Already done, sir. And find out why Victor is here. Now. Min-jun hesitated. Sir, there's something else. What? The boy. Kwon. He's been asking questions. At school. About you. About his father. Han Jun went still. What kind of questions? The kind that suggest he already knows the answers. 1 week later, the rain came without warning. Nia was closing the bakery when the downpour began, sheets of water that turned the street into a river. The children were at the back, doing homework at the small table she kept for them. Kwon sat closest to the door, always watching, always guarding. The door chimed. Han Jun stood in the entrance, rain streaming from his black coat. Mommy, Saad whispered. It's the man. Nia's heart stopped. What man, baby? But Saad didn't answer. She was already staring at Han Jun with those dark, familiar eyes that saw everything, said nothing. Like looking in a mirror. I'm not here for you, Han Jun said quietly. Not today. He walked past Nia, past the counter, past the display cases of Chin Chin and Puff Puff and the secret recipes of 3 generations. He stopped at the children's table. And he knelt. Kwon stood. 8 years old. Small. But he positioned himself between Han Jun and his sisters with the instinct of someone who had been protecting others his entire life. I know who you are, Kwan said. I know you do. You're the man from the hospital. Yes. You're the man in my mother's photograph. Yes. You're why she cries. Han Jun absorbed the words. Let them cut. Yes. Kwan's jaw tightened. Then why are you here? Because she's not the only one who's been crying, little warrior. She's just the only one who's allowed herself to. Behind Kwan, Amara tugged at her brother's sleeve. Appa, he's the man from my dreams. The sad one. Amara, be quiet. No, let her speak. Han Jun's attention shifted to his daughter. What did you dream, Amara? You were looking for something. For a long, long time. And you couldn't find it. And it made you so sad that you fell asleep and couldn't wake up. The rain hammered against the windows. Did I ever find it? Amara nodded solemnly. What was it? She pointed. At her brother. At her sister. At herself. Us. Nia watched from the counter. Watched the most powerful man she had ever known kneeling before her children. Watched his mask crack, just slightly. Watched Saad, her silent, careful Saad, reach out and touch the tattoo visible on his wrist. Watched Saada's mouth form silent words. Watched Han Jun lean closer to hear. Watched him flinch, as if struck. Later, she would ask what Saad had whispered. Later, Han Jun would tell her. 3 words. Are you staying? Later that night, the children were asleep. Nia and Han Jun sat in her small living room, the air between them heavy with everything unspoken. I want to know them. No. They're my children. They're mine. I raised them. I fed them. I held them when they were sick, when they were scared, when the world was too big and too hard. Where were you? Looking for you. You stopped. I never stopped. His voice was raw. I just stopped finding anything. You vanished, Nia. Completely. And I convinced myself you were happier. That wherever you were, whatever life you had built, it was better than anything I could offer. It was. The words were cruel. She meant them to be. But Han Jun didn't flinch. Then why did my son visit me in the hospital? Nia had no answer. Why did my daughter draw me before she knew I existed? Still nothing. Why does my other daughter speak to me when she won't speak to anyone else? Nia's composure cracked. Because they needed a father. Because I couldn't be everything. Because no matter how hard I tried, there was always something missing and they felt it and they searched for it and somehow they found you. Her voice broke. And I hate it. I hate that you're here. I hate that they know. I hate that everything I built to protect them is falling apart because of you. Han Jun watched her cry. And slowly, carefully, he reached across the space between them. His hand found hers. She didn't pull away. I'm not the man my mother described. I was once, perhaps, but I changed. I've spent the last 8 years dismantling the empire she helped build, cutting ties, eliminating threats, making myself into someone who could deserve. He stopped. Deserve what? A second chance. 2 weeks later, Victor Okonkwo had not left Seoul. He had settled into a penthouse in Gangnam, thrown lavish parties, made strategic appearances at high-profile events. And he had begun to circle. Nia noticed him first. He appeared at the bakery on a Tuesday, all charm and familiar smiles. They had known each other as children. Their families moved in the same circles, attended the same churches, carried the same expectations. Victor had proposed to her once. Before Han Jun. Before everything. Nia. Look at you running your own business. He spread his arms as if to embrace the entire bakery. Your parents must be so proud. My parents don't speak to me, Victor. You know that. Ah, yes. The scandal. He clicked his tongue sympathetically. Running away from your wedding to Seoul's most eligible bachelor. Quite the drama. What do you want? To catch up. To reconnect. To see how an old friend is doing. His eyes swept the bakery, landed on the children's table in the back. And who are these beautiful children? Nia's blood ran cold. They're mine. I can see that. The resemblance is striking. He walked closer, studying each face. But there's something else there too. Something familiar. Something. His smile sharpened. Korean. They're at school. You should leave. Of course, of course. But Nia. He leaned closer. If you ever need anything, you know where to find me. He placed a business card on the counter. Left. The door chimed behind him. Nia's hands shook as she picked up the card. On the back, in Victor's flowing script, his enemies are my friends. Choose wisely. That evening, Han-jun appeared without warning. He read Victor's card without expression. Then he crumpled it in his fist. He knows. He suspects. Same thing. Han-jun's jaw tightened. He'll use the children against me. Against you. Against anyone who gets in his way. What does he want? Power.
Territory.
Revenge. Revenge for what? For losing. For being second. For watching me build an empire while he stayed in his father's shadow. Nia sank into a chair. I should never have come to Seoul. No. Han-jun knelt before her, a position she had never seen him take before. You should have told me the truth. You should have trusted me to protect you. To protect them. I didn't know you. You know me now. His hand found her chin, tilted her face to his. Let me protect you, Nia. Let me protect our family. The word, family, hung between them. Fragile.
Terrifying.
Possible. What would that mean? Move into my compound. All of you. Until Victor is handled. Handled? Neutralize. You mean killed. I mean removed from any position where he could harm what's mine. What's mine? Nia pulled back. We're not possessions, Han-jun.
No.
You're everything. And I protect everything. 3 days later, Nia gave her children the choice. She sat them down in the living room, Kwon on one side, the twins on the other, and explained as much as an 8-year-old and 2 5-year-olds could understand. The man who visited the bakery, the man who came to see you, he's your father. The twins looked confused.
Kwon looked vindicated.
I knew it, he said quietly. I knew it when I saw him in the hospital. Why didn't you tell me you went there? Because you would have been scared. Because you would have made us move again. And I was tired of moving, Mom. I was tired of running. 8 years old. Already carrying burdens that should have been hers. Nia's heart shattered. He wants us to live with him. At his house. Until some problems are solved. What kind of problems? The kind grown-ups handle. Amara raised her hand like she was in school. Will I have my own room? Probably. Can I bring my crayons? Yes. Okay then. She nodded decisively. I want to go. Saad said nothing, but she reached into her pocket and pulled out a piece of paper. She unfolded it carefully, smoothed the creases, and placed it on the table. A drawing. A house. A family, woman, boy, 2 girls. And a man, no longer in the corner, standing with them, holding hands. Saad. Nia's voice broke. Did you draw this? Saad nodded. When? Saad held up 5 fingers. 5 days ago. Before anyone had suggested moving. Before Victor had appeared. Before everything. She sees things, Kwon said quietly. She always has. She just doesn't always tell us. 1 week later, the Han compound wasn't a house. It was a fortress. Walls of glass and steel. Gardens that concealed sensors. Staff that moved like shadows. Beauty that masked security so thorough, so sophisticated, that no one entered without Han-jun's knowledge. The children explored with wide eyes.
The pool.
The garden. The home theater. The room that had been converted into an art studio, fully stocked with supplies that made Amara gasp. Mommy, look. They have every color. I see, baby. Can I paint the walls? Maybe ask first. Kwon was more cautious. He walked the perimeter, tested the locks, found the security cameras, and noted their positions. 8 years old. Already thinking like a strategist. Saad stayed close to Nia, but her eyes, those dark, knowing eyes, tracked Han-jun whenever he was in the room. She's watching me, he told Nia quietly later that evening. She watches everyone. It's different with me. She's deciding. Deciding what? Nia looked at him. Whether you deserve us.
Midnight.
Nia couldn't sleep. The bed was too soft. The room was too quiet. The absence of street noise, of neighbors, of the constant hum of her small life, left her feeling adrift. She found herself in the kitchen. Found him there too. He stood at the window, silhouetted by moonlight. The tattoos on his arms seemed to glow, dragons and symbols and secrets written on his skin. "You don't sleep either," she said. "I haven't slept well in years." "Since when?" "Since you left." She moved closer. Not close enough to touch, but close enough to feel the warmth of him. "I dreamed about you," she admitted. "In the beginning. I dreamed you found me. I dreamed you were angry. I dreamed you were relieved." Relieved? That you didn't have to pretend anymore. That you could go back to your real life, the one your mother described. The one without me. "My mother lied about everything, Nia. About my business. About my nature. About who I was trying to become." "And who is that?" He turned to face her. The moonlight caught the planes of his face, the strong jaw, the full lips, the eyes that held entire galaxies of pain. "Someone worthy of you." The words landed like stones in still water. "Han-jun, I'm not asking for anything. Not yet. I just need you to understand, whatever I was, whatever I am, whatever I'm becoming, it's all because of you. Because the thought of you kept me alive when nothing else could." She should have stepped back. Should have reminded him of boundaries, of history, of all the reasons this was impossible. Instead, she stepped forward. Her hand found his chest. Over his heart. Over the tattoo of a phoenix that she hadn't seen before. A phoenix rising from Nigerian soil toward a Korean sky. "This is new. I got it after you left." A reminder. Of what? That everything beautiful can be reborn. 3 days later, Victor Okonkwo made his move. It started subtly, photographs of the bakery appearing on social media, captioned with questions. Who is Nia Adeyemi? Why did she really leave Nigeria? What is she hiding in Seoul? Then the questions became accusations. Fraud. Deception. A woman who manipulated 2 powerful men and disappeared with stolen money. The lies spread like wildfire. Mama Nia's lost customers. Suppliers suddenly couldn't deliver. The landlord received noise complaints, health code violations, a dozen anonymous reports. And through it all, Victor smiled from the pages of business magazines, his face the picture of innocence. "He's trying to destroy you without touching you," Han-jun said. They stood in his study, walls of books, windows of steel, a desk that had witnessed empires rise and fall. "I know. I can stop him."
How?
"You don't want to know." "Yes, I do." Han-jun turned. The mask he wore for the world was gone. In its place was something raw, savage. The dragon that had been sleeping beneath his skin. Victor Okonkwo has been embezzling from his father's company for 6 years. I have proof. Evidence that would destroy his reputation, his inheritance, his freedom. Then release it. If I release it, he'll know it came from me. He'll retaliate. The children will be protected. You can't know that. I know you, Han-jun. I've watched you with them. I've seen how Kwon looks at you now, like a soldier who finally found his general. I've seen Amara show you her drawings, waiting for your opinion, like it's the only one that matters. I've seen Saad. What about Saad?
She spoke to you.
A full sentence. 3 words. Do you know how long I've waited to hear her speak like that to anyone outside our family? Han-jun's composure cracked. What did she say? After the first time? She said you have sad eyes, like a prince in a tower. She said someone needs to rescue you. The silence that followed was deafening. Release the evidence, Nia said. Whatever happens next, we face it together. Together. 1 week later, Victor Okonkwo's empire collapsed overnight. Financial records appeared anonymously in journalists' inboxes. Bank statements, wire transfers, shell companies, a paper trail of corruption that stretched across 3 continents. Within 48 hours, Victor was facing extradition. Within 72 hours, his own family had disowned him. Within a week, he had disappeared, Some said to Dubai, others to a prison in Nigeria, others to a shallow grave. Hanjun never confirmed which. He simply watched the news with that same impenetrable expression. And when Nia asked, he gave her the only answer he would ever give. He will never touch what's mine again. 2 weeks later, the bakery reopened. But Nia didn't return to the apartment above it. She stayed at the compound. The children stayed. And slowly, carefully, something began to grow in the spaces between them. Hanjun learned the rhythm of a household with children. The chaos of morning routines. The endless questions. The negotiations over bedtime, vegetables, screen time. He learned that Kwan respected strength but craved vulnerability. That Amara created worlds with her crayons and needed them witnessed. That Saad understood more than anyone gave her credit for, and spoke only when words felt worthy of being spoken. He learned to be a father.
And in learning, he began to heal.
One night, Nia found him in the garden. The moon was full. The air smelled of jasmine and something else. Incense, perhaps, burning from the small shrine he had built for his mother's memory. You visit her often. I'm trying to forgive her. Can you? I don't know. She destroyed everything I loved. She drove you away. She kept me from my children for 8 years. He paused. But she was also my mother. And she was afraid. Of the world. Of my father's legacy. Of what I might become. What might you have become? Exactly what she tried to prevent you from seeing. A monster in a suit. A man who consumed everything and gave nothing back. He turned to face her. You saved me, Nia. You saved me, and you didn't even know it. The thought of you, of finding you, of being worthy of you, it kept me from becoming my father. Nia's eyes glistened. I didn't do anything. I ran.
You survived.
You raised 3 extraordinary children. You built a life from nothing. You did what you had to do, and you did it with grace, and I will spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of someone that strong. He reached for her hand. She let him take it. I love you, Nia. I have loved you since the moment we met. I will love you until there's nothing left of me. I'm not asking you to forget the past. I'm asking you to let me build a future. The jasmine swayed. The incense burned. And Nia made her choice. She kissed him, not softly, not tentatively, but with 8 years of longing, fear, grief, and hope. His hands found her waist, her back, the curve of her neck. He pulled her close, closer, until there was nothing between them but heartbeats. Nia.
Don't talk.
Not yet. She led him inside, through the garden, through the halls, to the room that had been hers, but now felt like theirs. The door closed behind them. What happened next was their own. 1 month later, happiness, Hanjun had learned, was fragile. He should have known it wouldn't last. The call came at 3 a.m. Minjun's voice was tight with controlled fear. Sir, we have a situation. Explain. Victor Okonkwo is dead. Found in a warehouse in Lagos. But before he died, he talked.
Names. Dates.
Connections. To whom? To everyone. Every enemy you've ever made. Every rival you've ever defeated. Every ghost you thought was buried. Hanjun's blood ran cold. He gave them something.
We don't know what.
But they're coming, sir. All of them. The next 3 weeks were war. Not the kind with bullets and bombs, though those came too. But the kind fought in boardrooms and back channels. The kind where a single phone call could destroy a fortune. The kind where trust was currency and betrayal was everywhere. Hanjun's network was attacked simultaneously from 6 directions. His businesses, his allies, his reputation, and worst of all, his family. The first attempt came on a Tuesday. A van followed the children's school bus. The driver noticed, called Hanjun. The van was intercepted, its occupants interrogated. They had been paid to kidnap. They didn't know by whom. The second attempt came on a Friday. A man with a knife entered the bakery. He never reached the counter. The security team Hanjun had placed there, invisible to customers, lethal to threats, handled him with quiet efficiency. Nia didn't even know until later. When Hanjun told her, her face went pale. What are we going to do? Whatever it takes. 2 weeks later, the attacks intensified. Han-jun responded with devastating precision. One by one, his enemies fell. Some to legal action, their crimes exposed to authorities. Some to financial ruin, their assets frozen, their allies turning against them. Some simply disappeared. But every victory came with a cost. Sleep became impossible. Food became an afterthought. And his children, began to notice. "Daddy looks tired," Amara observed one morning.
Daddy.
She had started calling him that 2 weeks ago. The word still made his heart stop. "Daddy has a lot of work," Nia said carefully.
He should rest. When I'm tired, I sleep. It helps.
Han-jun managed a smile. "I'll try, little artist. I promise." But the promise was a lie. He couldn't rest until they were safe. Truly safe. And there was only one way to ensure that. Later that night, "I have to go to Lagos." Nia looked up from the book. She wasn't really reading.
For how long?
"I don't know." "What's in Lagos?" "The root of all this. The original source. The one person who has been pulling strings for years, hiding behind proxies and cutouts."
Who?
Han-jun hesitated. "My father." The room went silent. "Your father? You told me he was dead." "I told you what I believed. What I was told. But the evidence suggests otherwise. He's been alive this entire time. In hiding. Building something worse than what I dismantled." "And you're going to confront him?" "I'm going to end him." Nia stood. "Then I'm coming with you." "Absolutely not. They're my children too, Han-jun. My family. My future. I won't sit here waiting, wondering, worrying while I what? While you sacrifice yourself for us." The accusation hung in the air. "I saw your will," Nia continued. "The one you had drawn up last week. Everything goes to me and the children if you die. You're not planning to come back. I'm planning for every contingency. You're planning to die. I'm planning to protect you." The words exploded from him. "I lost you once. I spent 8 years mourning you. I will not, I cannot lose you again. Or them. So, yes, if it comes to it, I will die to keep you safe. All of you. It's not a sacrifice. It's a privilege." Nia slapped him. The sound cracked through the silent room. "Don't you dare." She grabbed his face with both hands, forcing him to look at her. "Don't you dare die, Han-jun Okoye. Don't you dare leave your children without a father. Don't you dare leave me." Her voice broke. "Don't you dare leave me without you." He kissed her. Desperately. Like a man drowning. "Come back," she whispered against his lips. "Promise me." "I promise." This time, he meant it. 3 days later, Han-jun landed in Lagos on a Wednesday. The city embraced him with heat and chaos and memories he had spent decades burying. This was his father's territory. His father's kingdom. A sprawling network of influence that had once stretched across continents. Min-jun waited at the airport. "Sir, we have the location. The compound is heavily guarded. 40 men, maybe more. Can we breach it?"
Yes.
"But not without casualties." "Then we find another way." The other way took 2 days. Han-jun didn't sleep. He studied blueprints, interviewed informants, traced money flows, pulled favors owed by men who had hoped never to repay them. And finally he found it. The weakness. His father's compound was a fortress. But every fortress needed supplies. And the man who delivered those supplies, a local driver named Emeka, had a daughter who needed surgery. Surgery that cost more than Emeka would earn in 10 lifetimes. Han-jun paid for the surgery. Emeka provided access. 48 hours later, the compound was dark when Han-jun entered. He moved through shadows, past sleeping guards, up staircases that groaned with age. He found his father in a study that overlooked the Lagos lagoon. The man was old now, withered. But those eyes, those dark, depthless eyes, were exactly as Han-jun remembered. "I wondered when you would come. You should have stayed dead." "I tried. For years I tried. But I heard about the girl, the Nigerian beauty who had captured my son's heart. And then I heard about the children. Han Jun's hand went to the gun at his hip. They're not your concern. They're my legacy. My grandchildren. The continuation of everything I built. Everything you built was blood and suffering. I dismantled it, piece by piece. Did you? His father smiled. Or did you simply rebuild it in your own image? The companies, the networks, the influence. You didn't destroy my empire, June. You inherited it. I changed it. You refined it, made it legitimate, respectable. But the power remains. The control remains. The willingness to do whatever necessary, that remains too. Han Jun drew his gun. This conversation is over. Is it? Tell me, son, when Victor Okonkwo's men came for your children, what did you do? Silence. When the assassin entered your woman's bakery, what did your people do? More silence. You killed them. Or had them killed. Without hesitation. Without remorse. Because that's who we are. That's what we do. We protect what's ours with everything we have. I am nothing like you. You are exactly like me. The only difference is who you choose to protect. His father leaned forward. I chose power. You chose love. But the methods? The willingness? The darkness that lives inside you? That's my legacy. That will always be my legacy. Han Jun's finger tightened on the trigger. Then let's end it here. He didn't fire. Not because he couldn't, but because a voice came from the doorway. A small voice. A familiar voice. Daddy. Han Jun spun. Saad stood in the doorway. His daughter. His silent, knowing, impossible daughter, thousands of miles from where she should be. How? Min Jun brought me. Her voice was soft but clear. I asked him to. Saad, you need to leave. No. She walked into the room, past her father, toward her grandfather. The old man watched her approach with something like wonder. You look like your grandmother, he said softly. Grace. My wife. She had those same eyes. Saad studied him. You're sad, she said finally. Like Daddy used to be. But Daddy's not sad anymore. Because he found us. I never lost him. He chose to leave. He chose to become better. Saada's voice was impossibly steady. People can change. Mommy says so. Daddy says so. I think you forgot that. The old man blinked. What did you say? People can change. Even you. Silence filled the room. Then, slowly and possibly, the old man laughed. It wasn't cruel laughter. It was something else. Something broken. She really is your child, June. Sees right through everything. He looked at his son. Your mother was wrong about you. I was wrong about you. All these years, trying to pull you back, trying to make you inherit my sins. He stood, walked to the window. I'm dying. Cancer. 6 months, maybe less. I orchestrated all of this, the attacks, the revelations, Victor, because I wanted to see you one last time. To see what you had become. He turned. I see now. You're not my legacy. Those children are. And there's something I never could have built. Something good. Han Jun's gun wavered. What do you want? To end this properly. No more attacks. No more threats. I'll call off everyone. Sign over everything that remains. You can destroy it or transform it, your choice. Why? His father looked at Saad. Because my granddaughter just told me people can change. And I want to believe her. 2 days later, Han Jun returned to Seoul. Saad held his hand the entire flight. She had spoken more in the past 48 hours than in the previous year. About the airplane. About the clouds. About how her grandfather had given her a photograph, an old one, of a young woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile. That's your other grandmother, Han Jun explained. Grace. My mother's mother. She's pretty. She was beautiful. And she would have loved you very much. At the airport, Nia was waiting. She saw them emerge from customs, her daughter and the man she loved, hand in hand. She ran. Han Jun caught her, held her so tight she couldn't breathe. You're alive. I promised. What happened? It's over. All of it. We're safe. The words didn't seem real. How? Han Jun looked down at Saad. Our daughter saved me. saved all of us. She faced down a monster and showed him something he'd forgotten existed.
What?
Hope. 3 months later, the bakery thrived. Nia had expanded, a second location in Gangnam, featuring traditional Nigerian pastries with Korean influences. The fusion was unexpected, delicious, and wildly popular. But she still worked the original shop 3 days a week. Some things were worth holding on to. The children flourished. Kwon, now 9, had started martial arts training. Not because he needed to fight, but because he needed to understand his own strength. Han-jun trained with him on weekends, teaching him control, patience, precision. "You're fast," Han-jun told him after a particularly good session. "Faster than I was at your age. Mom says you were always fighting." I was. Why? Because I didn't know what I was fighting for. I just knew I was angry. He knelt to his son's level. "You're different. You know exactly what matters. That makes you stronger than I ever was." Amara, now 6, had held her first art show. In the compound's gallery, converted just for her, she displayed 37 drawings and paintings chronicling her family's journey. Abstract shapes that somehow told perfect stories. Colors that captured emotions words couldn't hold. Han-jun bought every piece. "They're mine already," Amara pointed out. "I live here. Then consider it an advance on your future career." "What's an advance?" "Money you get paid before you finish the work." "But I did finish the work." "Then consider it a bonus." "What's a bonus?" Han-jun laughed, a sound that had become more common lately. "Ask your mother." Saad, now 6, had started speaking more. Not constantly. Not about everything. But when something mattered, when someone needed to hear truth, she offered it freely. She had also started visiting her grandfather via video call. The old man was fading, his illness advancing despite the best care money could buy. But every Sunday, Saad sat in front of the camera and told him about her week. About school. About her siblings. About the garden she was helping her father plant. He listened to every word. "You're a good girl," he told her one Sunday. "I know," she replied. Han-jun, watching from the doorway, had to look away. Some forgiveness happened in private. 6 months later, Han-jun planned it for months. The ring had been designed by a master jeweler in Lagos, a fusion of Korean and Nigerian goldsmithing techniques. The diamond was ethically sourced. The band was engraved with the children's initials. But the moment had to be perfect. He considered elaborate settings. A private island. A rooftop in Seoul. A village in Nigeria where her grandmother had been born. In the end, he chose the bakery. That evening, the shop was closed. Candles flickered on every surface. The air smelled of chin-chin and jasmine, Nia's favorite combination. The children weren't on it, hidden behind the counter with strict instructions to stay quiet. Nia entered expecting to lock up for the night. She found Han-jun waiting. "What's all this?" 8 years ago, I stood at an altar waiting for you. You never came." Han-jun. "I'm not finished." He stepped closer. "I spent years angry. Then years searching. Then years grieving. I thought I had lost you forever. I thought I had lost my chance at everything that mattered." He knelt. The tattoo on his neck, dragon and symbol, power and heritage, seemed to glow in the candlelight. "I was wrong. Life gave me another chance. You gave me another chance. And I am done wasting time." He opened the box. The ring caught the light. "Nia Adeyemi, mother of my children, love of my life. Will you marry me?" From behind the counter, 3 small voices hissed. "Say yes." Nia laughed through tears. "Did you involve them in this?"
They involve themselves.
"Apparently, they've been planning this for weeks." "We have." Amara popped up, unable to contain herself. "We picked the candles and everything." "Amara, get down." "She ruined it," Kwon sighed. Saad remained hidden, but her voice carried clearly. "Say yes, mommy." Nia looked at the man kneeling before her. The man who had been her ghost. Her dream. Her fear. Her future. Yes. 3 months later, the ceremony was held in Lagos. Not in a church. Nia's family still hadn't fully reconciled, though they were trying. Instead, it took place in the garden of her grandmother's old home, restored specifically for this day. Both cultures intertwined. The bride wore white, adorned with traditional Nigerian coral beads. The groom wore black, his tattoos visible above his collar, his Korean heritage honored in the precision of his suit's cut. The children stood at the altar. Kwon, serious and proud, holding the rings. Amara, delighted and distracted, scattering flowers. Saad, silent but smiling, holding her mother's hand until the moment came to let go. The vows were written personally. I spent years in darkness, Hanjun said. You were the light I didn't know I was searching for. I promise to spend every remaining day becoming worthy of your brilliance. I spent years running, Nia replied. You were the home I didn't know I had. I promise to spend every remaining day building something beautiful together. The kiss was gentle, witnessed, eternal. That night, Hanjun's father called during the reception.
His voice was weaker now.
Barely a whisper. I watched the stream. One of your staff arranged it. I know. She's beautiful. The whole family is beautiful. They are. Silence stretched across continents. I never told you I was proud of you. I should have. Many times. I was too consumed by my own vision to see what you were building. Father. Let me finish. I'm running out of time. Hanjun stepped away from the celebration. Found a quiet corner. I was wrong about many things. About power. About legacy. About you. But I was right about one thing. You are my son. And everything good in you, everything that allowed you to become this, to build this, it came from somewhere. Maybe your mother. Maybe Grace. Maybe something deeper. But wherever it came from, it's yours now. Guard it. Grow it. Pass it on. I will. And, Hanjun. Yes. Thank you for letting me see them. The children. It was more than I deserved. It was exactly what you deserved. Redemption is always available. You just have to reach for it. The old man laughed, weak and fading. When did you become so wise? When I stopped trying to become you. The laugh became a cough. Then silence. Then very softly, goodbye, son. The line went dead. 2 weeks later. The funeral was private. Hanjun didn't attend in person, the wounds between them still too fresh for public mourning. But he arranged everything. The burial site. The prayers. The small gathering of those who remembered the man before the monster. And he kept one thing. A photograph. An old one. A young couple, Grace and the man who would become Hanjun's father, standing before a Lego sunset. They looked happy. Innocent. Full of possibilities not yet destroyed. He placed it in his office. A reminder of where darkness came from and how light could survive it. 1 year later, the compound had changed. What was once a fortress was now a home. Art on every wall. Laughter in every room. Evidence of children everywhere. Toys scattered. Drawings taped to surfaces. Small shoes abandoned in random locations. Hanjun had changed too. The darkness hadn't disappeared. It never would. But it had found its proper place. A tool when needed. A shadow when required. But never again the master. He walked through the garden at sunset. Saad walked beside him. She was 7 now. Still quiet. Still knowing. But no longer silent.
Daddy.
Yes, my heart. Are you happy? He looked at the house. Through the windows he could see Nia in the kitchen. Amara was helping, which meant flour covered every surface. Kwon was setting the table, counting plates with military precision. Family. His family. I am happy, he said. For the first time in my life. Good. Saad nodded. You were sad for too long. How did you know? I always knew. I just couldn't tell you before. Why not? She thought about it. Because you weren't ready to hear it. Words are important. They should be saved for when they matter. And now they matter? Now you can listen. She took his hand. Come on. Dinner's almost ready. And Mommy's trying a new recipe. Kwon says it's probably going to be terrible. He said that. He's usually right. Hanjun laughed, A full, genuine sound that would have been impossible years ago. Then let's go find out. 5 years later, the children had grown. Kwon, now 14, had his father's intensity and his mother's heart. He was already making plans, business school, international relations, something that would let him change the world. Amara, now 11, had held exhibitions on 3 continents. Her art told stories that words couldn't capture. Critics called her a prodigy. She called herself just someone who likes colors. Saad, now 11, had found her voice. She spoke carefully, precisely, and only when it mattered, but what she said moved people to tears, to action, to change. Teachers said she was destined to lead. She said she was destined to listen. And there were new additions. Twins. Girls. Named Grace and Patience, after grandmothers who had shaped their family story in ways both beautiful and tragic. One evening, Nia found Han-jun in his study. The photograph of his parents still hung on the wall, but beside it now were newer images. Wedding photos, birthday celebrations, school plays and soccer games, and lazy Sunday mornings. A family built from broken pieces. "What are you thinking?" He turned. The years had grayed his temples, softened his edges, but his eyes were the same, dark, deep, seeing everything. "I'm thinking about how close I came to missing all of this." "But you didn't." "Because a boy walked into my hospital room. Because he told me his mother cried my name in her sleep. Because he left me a drawing and a chance I didn't deserve." Nia crossed the room, took his hand, pressed it to her heart. "Every chance you took, you earned. Every change you made, you chose. This family isn't luck, Han-jun. It's love. And love is always a choice." He pulled her close. The tattoos on his arms, dragon and phoenix, African and Korean, past and future, wrapped around her like armor. "I choose you," he whispered. "I chose you then. I choose you now. I will choose you every day until there is nothing left of me. And even after that, especially after that." She kissed him. Soft. Sure. Eternal. Later that night, the compound was quiet. Children asleep. Adults finally resting. Han-jun stood at the window, looking out over Seoul, the city that had witnessed his rise, his fall, his rebirth. Somewhere in the distance, a light flickered. Maybe a star. Maybe a street lamp. Maybe something else entirely. He chose to believe it was his mother. Watching. Finally at peace. "Everything beautiful can be reborn," he had told Nia once. He hadn't known how true it was. Not until now. In the bedroom, Nia stirred. "Han-jun, come to bed." He took one last look at the city, at the life he had built, at the future stretching before him. Then he turned, walked away from the window, and went to join his wife. The darkness stayed outside. The light was finally home. If this story moved you, if it made you believe in second chances and the power of love to heal even the deepest wounds, please remember to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, stay blessed.